Now that we've covered levels 1 through 20 in this guide, we're going to go through levels 20 through 30. If you thought the 1 through 20 section was long, unfortunately or fortunately, the 20 to 30 section is even longer, featuring all of the most popular or best camps for one reason or another. These are by no means all the camps or all the areas, but they are good starting spots and good zones and spots to level. One thing we need to make clear is I do not plan on using personas. I do not have the latest expansion, nor do I intend on buying it. Some of you may have personas, so it may make travel easier. In the first 1 through 20 guide, there's some comments that point out the problems with getting to the field of bone. I have an XR persona and then transferring to another character, as there's almost no safe spot to load your persona in on, as personas are limited to where you can switch. There are ways to get your human into the field of bone, but it may require multiple people to do so. So for the 20 to 30 section, this will not matter so much if you have personas. Personas make it easier to travel, but by 2030 you'll start getting easier access and be able to get around a lot easier than if you're level 1 with no gear. Now my plan was to have the full 1 through 60 guide in video format before the server launches tomorrow. I don't know that I'll get through this section. I might be able to get this 20 to 30 and 30 to 40 out, which will give you enough spots. Keep in mind that all of the spots, these popular spots plus all the spots, are in one of the 2 guides on everquestguides.com. One of them is that 1 through 60 leveling guide that you saw in the background there, and the other one is the Kunark leveling guide off the top menu. As I said in the 1 through 20 video, some of these spots are going to dip below the level 20 range, but they also have a range into the 20s, so I kind of had to cut them off at some point. So starting at the first spot, we've got Unrest level 16 through 25 coming out of the courtyard. This is one of the better areas to level. And next up we have Permafrost Keep, the entire fucking keep. So as you get to the entrance area, obviously it's a little bit lower, and then it gets higher as you progress through. This entire fucking keep is good, and the mobs range from level 16 to 25. There's no specific camp that I wanted to point out, just kill shit. And the next is Upper Guck, the priest area, highlighted here on the map. This is in the northern section, and that little stretch right there that you see highlighted is levels 17 through 25. And you also have a rare mob that could spawn, which could lead you to some of that bonus loot. Lakeaville Omen Explorers, levels 17 to 21. This is about 6 to 10 mobs at the Explorer camp, so maybe not entirely a full group, maybe a full group of level 17s, so that they are even con or yellow or red for a little bit more experience. Or maybe they're all blue cons too and you're just trying to solo. This is a good area for the explorers. And in Lakeaville Omens again, the Goblins, 17 to 22 to the east of the lake. And Eastern Karana, Crag Spiders, 18 to 20. Now, if you notice in the 1 through 20 guide, there were some other chasm crawlers or something like that. They're all in this same field. So as you're going through 10 through 13 spider mobs, you can also kill the 18 through 20 mobs, meaning if you're farming the 18 through 20 mobs for experience, you can also kill the level 13 mobs for silk. And silk will get you a little bit of cash when people start doing trade skills. Altogether, it's a pretty decent area. Oceans of Tears Skeletons. The Skeleton Island is one of the areas where I typically used to power level with a druid, because there are a ton of skeletons on that island. They range from levels 18 to 20. There's some gargoyles and then specters in the center, so be careful to stay away from the center of this zone. And it's not too bad of a swim, and you can take those little rowboats off the docks up here if you want and take a boat to it. It's still slow. Warslick's Woods, the Giant Fort, levels 18 to 27. Giants are just rich in weapon drops, rich in platinum drops. Giants are really good to farm, and this is one of the good camps in Warslick's Woods. It might be one of the less popular camps, so this might be open more often than not. But at the start of the server launch, I think everything's going to be pretty much packed. One thing that you do get an advantage of if you're just trying to level, a lot of people will be chasing that random bonus loot, so they'll be in the bigger camps with more rare spawns, like the zones like Upper Guck and those dungeon type zones. So this might be open on a server like Teak. Unfortunately, with Mischief, we started in Classic, so everybody was level 50 by the time Kunark hit, so nobody's really coming back to these zones to do the 18 through 27 range. A lot of those beginning Kunark zones were forgotten, which is why it's so great that they launched Kunark right away, because then people can really sometimes for the first time go back and experience leveling in those Kunark zones without being, max level 50 just trying to get to 60. Castle Mistmore, the entrance area. Up until you get to that graveyard, the mobs stay from level 19 to 23. If you start to go around that corner or into the graveyard, you're gonna get shit on fast. So stick to the entrance area in that yellow. And 19 to 20, this is a very good area. The downside is there'll be a lot of people traveling through here to get to other camps. So if you're not ready for your next spawn, Some people will train them or just kill them on the way. Solo Sec A, the former Predator. This is one of the beginning areas in Sol A. It has really good rare spawns and random bonus loot drops. However, you do face the same problem that it's easier to get to. This zone is going to be heavily camped. Hopefully you can get either an alt or a main into a group and slowly move your box characters in if you're boxing. But this zone is going to be rocking come release time. Upper Guk Shinlord area. This is in that southern highlighted section on the map. Again, more rares, levels 19 through 29. Good little spot to camp for a group. High Pass Hold Guards, 19 to 29. So both around those bridges and upper areas on the north and south end of High Pass Hold are guards. I think there's 6 on each side, 6, 7, maybe some roamers. You do take a faction hit. So unless you want to be KOS to the keep and whatever else is on this faction, probably don't want to kill them. However, evil races, especially Necros, you'll often see soloing these guards and the ones in the actual keep. And back to Lake of Ill Omen, the goblins up in the north, levels 20 through 26, lots of goblins, and more secluded than some of the main areas like by the Sarnak Fort. Back to the Ocean of Tears, Aviac Island. A little bit harder to get to. Yes, you can take one of the rowboats from the main docks. You could levitate and sail across the water if you're high enough at this point. The outer edges are a little bit lower range level, but the center is level 21 to 23. So if you do come out here, I think it was maybe 18 to 20 or somewhere in that range, you can actually just level through by moving to the center of the island. I wouldn't take a full group out here, but you could definitely take, 2 or 3 box or a few friends or even solo out here. Back to Lake of Ill Omen again, the Sarnak Castle entrance. This is one that I remember from my early years back on the live servers in 2000. Somewhere in that time frame. It was a long time ago, but we would sit outside this fortress there up on the steps and pull things down from the courtyard and the beginning entrance there. Neat little spot to camp, brings back a lot of memories. And then inside the tunnels, levels 21 through 25. Now back then, without, the free trade bonus loot, group gear, whatever I could find, I probably had a fine steel weapon here. Shitty ass gear, probably had a druid healing because I was stubborn with druids, never used a cleric much until later on. It was dangerous to pull in these tunnels. I had no CC, so if I pulled more than 2 mobs, I'd die. So this was always a challenge for me. On this server, it's not gonna probably be a challenge for anybody, especially since everybody's been playing this game and Ruins of Kunark is not the newest expansion like it was for me back then. Also a good leveling area. There are higher level mobs in there, so be careful. High Keep Basement Goblins. This one I'm very fond of. However, it can be a wasted trip, so it's best that you camp some type of alt or character out here to check on these camps because it really only supports one group. Back in the old days, it would support a group sitting at the bottom of the steps and then one down toward the basement, and there's maybe 15 total spawns. There's not a lot, ranging from levels 22 to 33. Modern days, and with the gear you're probably going to have at this point, it's anywhere from 3 to 6 people or characters will be able to take this full camp. There are no other camps in this zone unless you're willing to fight the guards for faction hits. So this one's hit or miss. I remember traveling out here, a full group, spending 15 minutes to run out here, and then you get here and you find out that it's camped and you don't want to run anywhere else. So you just log off and you just check back in, or you leave a character sitting AFK there and just make sure that it's open. So this can be a real lucrative area. You'll get a lot of weapon drops and things you can sell. And there's also a quest in here for their ears, the goblin ears. I think they drop something that gets turned into a guard upstairs, but really good leveling spot if you can get the camp. Upper Guk, Nocta Shaman area, back to Upper Guk, levels 22, 29. This is just north of the Froglock Priest area. So come around the bend. All these mobs in the yellow here will be 22, 29 range, and you'll have a rare spawn. So you could get some loot. Now, if you're really good, you can sit up here where this platform is, or anywhere up in this hall, and you can pull the shaman, the priest camp as far as you can get, which is what you'll probably see happening as people get really powerful gear and they have their box crews there. You're going to see people taking up probably more than one of these camps at a time. And the high keep guards, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see a lot of people fear kiting, snare kiting, these guards, mostly evil races. They probably drop decent loot and platinum, but you're gonna take a faction hit, so this is mainly for evil races or people who just don't give a fuck. And the Lake of Ill Omen Undead Ruins, levels 22 to 26. I have this marked as sold. If you're just chilling, got nothing to do, maybe you only got a few minutes, and you're in Lake of Ill Omen, check out these ruins, pop 5 mobs, go make some breakfast, come back, pop 5 mobs again. It's that type of camp. It's not anything where you're going to bring a group or anything serious. Maybe if you're 2-boxing or soloing. And Sol A Goblin Captain area. This is in the far north, and typically Sol A is like one of the major power leveling zones. So when power leveling starts, you're going to see people sitting at that initial bridge and pulling all the way up through the north and all the way up through the south. When I used to power level here, I'd pull the entire north in one pull, and then I'd go down south by the bartender and pull that entire strip in the second pull, and I have to wait for respawns. Hopefully people aren't doing that yet, but if you sit up in this north there and you can actually get that north quadrant. And there's more than 15 mobs, so you have decent leveling. Soleil Goblin Bartender. This was a AFK mage favorite. They would sit just on the bartender spawn. You may see that here, but fortunately for you, all the spawns in here, they're gonna have access to the same type of loot tables, so they can't really sit and permacamp any items. But the bartender area is good, the rooms around it. Most times you'll see people take the bartender and more, so more than one of these camps at a time. Unrest Fireplace upstairs, not marked, but if you go into the building and find the fireplace, you can pull up the stairs up to the top floor if you want. Levels 25 through 30. After you come out of the courtyard, this is probably the next best spot to go. And the Unrest Basement. The mobs in the basement are oftentimes nasty, especially the tentacles. They got knockback, and just a bunch of nasty shit happens down there, so you got to be careful going up and down. It's through a fake wall that leads down, and then I think there's more fake walls even to get further down. Mobs range from level 25 to 35. You could easily level to 35 in Unrest if you felt like it, which means you could probably go from levels 10 to 35 in Unrest if you start out the courtyard and work your way into the camps. Really good spot, but it is pretty dangerous. South Corona outside Split Paw. So this again is if you want to prepare to get leveled up to go in the Split Paw, or everything else is taken, you can kind of sit outside of Split Paw here. It's kind of an annoying run, but say you're looking for a group in Split Paw and you can't find one, then you come out here, maybe solo a few mobs or dual box a couple mobs out here, so at least you get some experience. Because after you go too far in the split paw, I think the mobs, even though the entrance ones are probably similar range to 25, 28, they start to climb up higher levels, which may be too difficult for you. And Lava Storm Mountains. In the north, there's Basilisk and Drakes, levels 25 to 31 in that area. Really good spot to level. Crypt of Downer. This is off of Warslick's Woods, and not a lot of people would really come here. As I said, most people, when Goons of Kunark comes out, are already level 50, even back in live servers, but I did not mark off any specific camps because this is going to be one of those things where you're going to wander around the zone and just kill shit and maybe make your own camp, or hopefully you get like a large portion of it. But the first and second floor levels 25 to 29, then down to the third floor it gets up to 33. So this whole zone is a pretty decent area to come to for that level range. Castle Mistmore Graveyard. Not a lot of mobs in there, but enough mobs to do effective leveling. Ranging from levels 26 to 33. Once you clear the graveyard, if nobody's fighting, you can actually run north and to the east and pull some high level mobs as well. And that might give you enough to keep a group satisfied. Soul A Goblin High Shaman area, south of the bartender all the way down, is usually pulled with the bartender camp. However, maybe you're lucky and they recognize multiple camps. It's in the southern area there, and you will have access to a rare spawn. The Frontier Mountain Giants, 26 to 35. This, again, Giants are just so good for the platinum. It's so good for your bank account. Not really anything exciting here. If you do get any rare spawns, I don't even know if there is a rare spawn inside of there. Maybe there is. I don't see any marked on this map, but good experience, good solid experience, and good platinum. So if you're just looking to level 26 to 35, good area right here. The over there Sarnak camps. Sarnak's in these ruins here south of that pit there in the highlighted area. Range levels 26 to 37. And it's primarily Sarnak's in that area. Not a bad spot to set up in the over there. The Field of Bone Undead, I had mentioned this maybe in the 1 through 20 guide. In the northeast corner, there's a hidden tunnel again, where you can fight skeletons in that highlighted area, levels 26 to 30. And the Lower Guck Bedroom, which will also be one of the first camps that you run into in Lower Guck that will be heavily camped. Very solid area there. Soul A King Room, area 27 through 30. This one is probably going to be camped because people will be farming, I think, their Cleric Epic in one of the rooms here. There is a rare spawn nearby, but a lot of people do tend to either sit on the actual Cleric spawn here and ruin this camp, or there's power levelers clearing the whole southern part of the area in one pull, like I said earlier. Soul A Captain Gnome area. There's a faction hit, and I've never figured out what the faction would do to me being human, but they are gnomes, so I imagine they're not an evil race. I've always stayed away from it. A lot of people do farm this area. Levels 28 to 32 is a boss and rare spawns, so if you know what the faction hit is and you've done this before and you're okay with that, it's a very good camp. And staying in Soul A, one of the lesser camped areas, but a decent area, the Lava Elemental area, levels 28 to 32 in that northeast section there. You can check out the 1 through 20 section here. At some point I will update this to show the 30 through 40 section linked. Until then, why don't you watch me whoop Fenrir Sathir's ass with this level 2 paladin. We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest?